everyone. Welcome to another episode of Crypto Current. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I have a special guest all the way in Queensland, Australia, working on a project you definitely need to learn more about. Exciting stuff happening to help bring blockchain to the masses and helping it become a lot more interoperable. So when it's being used, you don't necessarily know you're using blockchain, but that's the whole point of mass adoption. I'm gonna let Bo speak about this a little bit more. We have Bo with Transient Network. How you doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Man, I'm amazing. I appreciate you waking up early to spend some time with us today. But before we learn more about all that you have going on, I want to learn more about you. Can you give us some background on yourself?
Sure. Bo, obviously, lead of Transient, and I come from a background from a technology perspective where I've spent the last 15, 16 years within the industry, looking at how we bring sort of multinational traditional finance products and digital experiences to the world, and it led some really big, quite scaled program management and data-driven assignments along the way. So a little bit of a focus on the online entertainment space in terms of online gambling, fintech and insurance. So coming into the blockchain space with that experience and hopefully being able to balance the two. So for me, blockchain really started to ramp up in my experiences through the online entertainment industry and trying to understand how we could leverage new ways from a payment perspective and utilizing blockchain and crypto as a differentiated experience that wasn't being provided in the market. And that was sort of 4 or 5 years ago. And just really tipping my toe into the experience and the opportunities it represented and the advantages that it had even at that point really got my curiosity started within the space. And here we are now, some years later.
Right. No, that's a good transition into the world of crypto. So it sounds like you were in it around 2016, 2017, and you were just trying to figure out how we could expedite processes utilizing blockchain technology. And as you started to look into this field, what made you decide, okay, this is a direction I know I want to go into because it looks like it potentially could be the future? Or kind of walk us through what that was like.
Yeah, I think with most things, when there's a little bit of a challenge and a little bit of a stigma around whether it's technology or even principles in life, when there's a little bit of pushback, generally you're onto something. And I think when you start to get questions around, how is it going to be utilized in a real world setting, and people can see almost as a challenge to the norm, I think that's a really good indicator as to when you are onto something that's going to be big. And we could see that, and we can see it now within the sort of mainstream media and the rhetoric around blockchain as an industry is generally when you're onto something and people are trying to stop it, there's generally success on the other side. And we've definitely seen that at the time.
Oh, definitely. And it's just interesting to see too how much the industry has evolved over the last 4 or 5 years and how much more people are starting to realize that the importance around the underlying technology that is blockchain as opposed to, the cryptocurrencies and how they can impact, but really getting to the nuts and bolts of the technology itself. So tell us a little bit about Transient Network and the core of what y'all are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, so the core is, and it's stemming from my experiences in that sort of corporate traditional world around demystifying blockchain. And I think you mentioned in your opening, it's how do we bring dApps into the ecosystem where you're not aware of what you're actually utilizing under the hood. And Transient is the opportunity for us to create a marketplace of specific use case dApps where it really breaks down the barriers of adoption by providing dApps to users that may not be coders. We don't want or need Solidity developers across each of our dApps to utilize. We want to ensure that we're bringing a number of use cases via our dApps and our marketplace to those that potentially have barriers in front of them. And one of them is programming skills, one of them is blockchain experience, and then just an understanding in general around blockchain and smart contracts particularly. So Transient and its marketplace will cater to varying use cases. We have a product already on mainnet, which is our core product, so TSC Core. And that's really geared around a crypto first use case around giving the ability for anybody, anywhere, anytime to create a smart contract to facilitate deposits, transfers, even digital signatures at the moment. So they're being utilized with some of our vendors already, which is great, and taking away the need of manual payments within the ecosystem and giving opportunity for people to utilize a DApp, create a smart contract themselves. And as you mentioned, not even realizing you're actually creating a smart contract, which is the best of all. So we will hit a number of industries, and being the Amazon of smart contracts, which we're calling ourselves, is the opportunity to bring together a marketplace that really is accessible for anyone, anywhere, anytime, regardless of the use case you're wanting to build your smart contract for.
Wow. So let's just stay there for a second. So that's a big, bold statement and definitely an eye catcher, right? So the Amazon of marketplaces for the world of blockchain. So walk me through, because like when I think of an initial Amazon experience, right, and you go on there and you're looking for anything in the world, right? Whether you want to get a pencil or whether you want to go get a hat, anything in the world, you go there and you're able to do it. So walk me through, as a person listening to this, of like how I'd be able to go to this marketplace and so I'd go to get a product, or like kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, so first of all, just with the Amazon sort of, and I wouldn't even say comparison, but just even utilizing the terminology. I've been in the industry long enough. I've worked with the guys on numerous projects at big organizations, and to even be considered within the same conversation of that is something that, you know, I strive to, and Transient strives to. So definitely no comparison in that sense, but the marketplace of coming and, as you said, having a seamless experience and coming to a single repository or a single source of truth for your needs is where we want to play. So from a marketplace perspective, whether you're coming from a crypto perspective and you're wanting to facilitate transfers or smart contracts for payments, or whether or not you're coming to our marketplace to launch our highly anticipated crypto pool, which is a price prediction DApp, which will be on mainnet within the next couple of weeks. Or you could come in a couple of months and look at our esports DApp, where we're providing the ability for the community to build their own pools and competitions based on the biggest tournaments the esports and gaming world have. So that's three that are either actively on mainnet or in development for. And our roadmap for next year will continue to be built out. We have one launching very early in the year around non-disclosure agreements, where if you're looking at working with an individual or a party, you've got some IP that you don't want to be shared posts at your coordination, whether it's for investments or employment, you'll be able to create your non-disclosure agreements in the Transient network for our next-gen contracts within the marketplace. So that's four that I've just jotted off for you, and that's really touching the surface on the experiences we want to deliver. And then we move into really pushing into the mainstream. And we find esports and the gaming DApp will be our first catalyst into the bridge between crypto and mainstream use cases. And we think there's a really big demographic there as well, that from a crypto and gaming perspective, where we find there's many similarities of fundamentals within the industries. We really expect that to be the first bridge for us into that mainstream. So, and then we've got, the hitting on insurance, which I think is going to be a big one into the future. Facilitating on-ramp, off-ramp, instant claims is a big one for us in calendar year 2022. And then we look to how else we expand experiences across the globe. So, if you come to us, you might be looking for your TSC core, as you would on Amazon. You might walk away with a T-shirt you didn't need, or you might even get away with one of these Transient hats. I'm not sure, but something will be there for you, whether you're looking for it or not.
Awesome. And For all those who are listening, of course, check out our YouTube channel so you can see the amazing Transient hat that Bo is sporting. But man, like this is a pretty massive undertaking. Like the fact that you're trying to bridge all of these different gaps in marketplaces, from freelance work to product to smart contracts to pay and receive money, and even being able to like online sports betting. Like this is a huge undertaking. So kind of break down like as far as where y'all kind of are on the roadmap, and what are some immediate things that people listening right now would be able to come on Transient Network and be able to do?
Yeah. So, perfect example as a freelancer today. You're creating a website for a crypto company. Generally, you would create, well, depending on how professional you are, you'd either be creating an invoice or you'd be sending your MetaMask wallet address via a Telegram group that you don't know who's on the other side. The clients will then obviously go and try to copy and paste that from their IAM into MetaMask and hope for the best that was the one that they were supposed to pay to. With Transient and TSC Core, that freelancer would simply create a smart contract within our network in a beautifully laid out UI and a really easy to navigate, choose your own adventure style form filling, as you would with any other sort of Web 2 and below. Really familiar, particularly for those that are in their sort of marketing and digital world today. They'd be able to create that smart contract, put a date and time, the amount that's required, and as smart contracts will do, they'll execute at the time they're required. And the client will then simply go into TSC Core, click on the action, and make the payment directly from our DApp. So no copying and pasting MetaMask, no looking to see what the amount was, whether it's USD or USDT, being able to facilitate within the DApp without going anywhere, and no room for error whatsoever. Removes the issues with non-payments, payments after due dates, and just the ease of which you can make those payments directly to your freelance designer or whoever that may be. So that's today, and that's happening. We do have that Ethereum, SC, and Heco chain. So each of those are operating today and can be utilized for your needs. The next big one is crypto pool. So price itself across the industries and price conversation is rife. And for us, it's being able to integrate ourselves into that conversation. And crypto pool is effectively a community-driven price prediction platform that individuals can create price prediction pools around ERC20, BEP20 tokens. Similar principle, creating a pool for prediction, and then utilizing smart contracts for the immediate distribution of those winnings. So that one's happening right now, and will be on mainnet hopefully sort of within the next 2 weeks from now. So first week of December we're targeting, and we find that one will be a really driven experience, particularly on BSC, given gas fees are low and the ecosystem is quite familiar with high volume type transactional volume. So we're really looking forward to that, and that's just around the corner.
Man, that's exciting. Like you said, there's a lot of use cases right now that you've already built out. And I mean, even the one as a freelancer, being able to set up that smart contract to get all that going. I'm sure a lot more people are looking for opportunities like this, which is highly important. Going back to the whole underlying piece of why blockchain is so important is because of all of the different ways it can be utilized and how it's all practical, useful, and can be, you can trust it while also being not having a middle person to facilitate these types of deals, the whole point of a smart contract in the first place. So as you kind of like, again, take a step back and you're looking at, wow, here are all the different aspects that we're building out. Why do you think more people, once they discover Transient, is going to get more and more involved within this ecosystem, this marketplace that you're creating?
Yeah, so I think that the first one is the seamless nature of the interaction. So we sort of saw it, one of the big issues or challenges was the whole trilemma from a blockchain perspective. I think even as you nail that, and there's chains that are getting closer and closer to optimizing what that looks like, the experiences need to be either familiar or surpass what we have today. So Transient's familiarity around the actual experience with applications that are used today is the first thing. And second is the ability to create your own experience. So you'll be able to utilize whatever fields and data points you want to create the experience you need to. I think more from a non-technical perspective, the experience that the team particularly has on both the blockchain, crypto, but also traditional means and a traditional sort of landscape allows us to have an understanding of what these use cases look like already. So I've spent a lot of my time in senior leadership roles. It's probably the biggest betting company in the world, with brands across the world through Flutter Group and FanDuel in the US, Paddy Power in Europe, and Sportsbet in Australia. So I'm aware as to what experiences the opportunity have, and are able to sort of leverage that position in propositions of experiences. So, from an online entertainment perspective, a really big challenge for them is loyalty and how they look at loyalty and loyalty programs across their various products. And blockchain is built for that. Distributed ledgers of and single nodes and central points of experiences through validators on chain and off are a perfect catalyst for experiences like that. So I think on one hand, from a transient perspective, is clearly the UI and the experience and differentiating that to what's out there today, but also the ability to understand what these industries want and be able to be on the front foot to actually enable those. We find that I've found previously, even when I've been in previous roles there, the idea of blockchain or emerging tech is great, but you need to be able to have real life use case and a understanding as to what the problem it's solving. And lucky for us, we know a lot of the problems and we know how to solve them.
Right. No, that's really important. Just like you said, being able to speak to your background, your experiences, understanding what consumers have wanted, challenges they can consistently face, and then how to be able to solve a lot of those within the same marketplace ecosystem and have it build upon itself. Because after you get pretty comfortable with one aspect of being able to outsource and use a platform for something, you start using it for everything. Like one of the smartest things I think the Apple ecosystem did was they made a phone that was so simple and easy to use that you basically go to it for all of your needs. So if you're able to start creating that first entry point of, hey, I can do this thing really well. And then like, oh, by the way, you can do this now. Oh, you can do this now. Oh, you can do this now. You begin to trust that. And you first just need that first entry to have someone on. And it sounds like that's how y'all are kind of like making that approach as well as you grow this out.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the way that we actually built our foundation product, so TSC Core, our first app, which it will be effectively the foundation for each and every one of our apps going forward. So the fundamentals of the way smart contracts are created, and then the utilization of the experience can be scaled quite effectively, given the principles remain similar. So obviously the content and the data changes as to what we're building the experience around, and there'll be some nuances around that. But the foundational layer of the core product remains consistent, and that allows us to scale, as I said, with a really good velocity, which we've seen already, and we'll continue to build upon that sort of foundational capability, but adding experiences on top of that is what we strive to do.
Excellent. Well, sounds like you've got an amazing platform out there, and everyone listening, make sure you go check that out. But to shift gears just for a second, one of the things that you mentioned before we even got on the call, and I think is really important for this industry as we build out the future, is building out a way to get closer to mass adoption, building out blockchain so that it's super interoperable and easy to use, and to a point to where people are using it without understanding that they're using it. How do you think we keep getting closer and closer to that future, and how far away do you think we are?
Just keep pushing. Absolutely keep pushing. I think, whether it's hackathons, whether it's experimentations, whether it's prototyping, something I've been really big on is the almost prototyping and identifying how, as I mentioned before, around the problems you're solving and putting the numbers and the facts on the board when dealing with these industries and bodies. So I think continuing to show the value, pushing the boundaries from a technological perspective, and continuing having a conversation. Even with Transient today, it's if you're wanting to get into blockchain, or you've heard about this scary sort of beast, check out Transient, check out a number of dApps that are breaking down the barriers, be part of the groups, tell a friend about blockchain. Like, it really is not simple, but there are, pieces that we can play a part on in driving the conversation forward. So the next time your business is doing the same thing over and over and over again, think about, okay, well, is there technology that might be able to help that in your everyday life? Is there something that you don't want to do repetitively, or you feel that there could be a better way? Most likely blockchain and or crypto is in isolation has already solved it for you. Are you waiting too long for your bank to deposit funds for you? There's an option already. Yeah, so I think it really is just continuing the conversation and almost being advocates for yourself and advocates for the community. And I think that will continue to drive that. Transient and the bigger sort of players within the industry will continue to drive the conversation at whatever levels they can. But it is that constant repetitive, understanding as to the problems we're solving, as opposed to bringing technology just for the fun of it. So I think, having a fundamental understanding of why you're building a product, that is really key and critical to how you'll, continue the conversation of adoption, particularly in the consumer world, but also in the more traditional world as well.
Yeah. And a lot of great points there. And for everyone listening, play that back. This is how we get closer and closer to having everyone within not just the crypto blockchain space, but even those who are on the fence waiting for that moment. A lot of people don't want to use what they don't understand. And a lot of people don't understand the use cases of the underlying technology blockchain in itself. So a lot of what Bo just broke down is essential to how we keep getting closer to that. And more than anything, what he said was to participate, find groups and find things that make sense and just get involved. And we as a community continue to get closer to what we're trying to get to. So, Bo, I really appreciate all that info. I always like to wrap up with 2 fun questions. The first one I like to ask is, with all the information you have right now, if you go back to yourself back in 2015, 16, whenever you first got in the space, you could drop 1 to 2 pieces of knowledge and wisdom to yourself, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I think the first was when you get into the space, and even more so, 10 times more so than back then, the number of projects and what they're trying to deliver can be overwhelming from an investor perspective. You need to make sure that you're aware as to what fundamentals you're looking to achieve out of crypto and the space in general. If you want to be a day trader, great, that's fine. Go for it. If you want to look at projects that are low cap and have a great trajectory, that's great as well. But just understand what you're getting into, and then put appropriate measures around from a research perspective. Really align your fundamentals and understanding of why you want to invest in a project, and really do your due diligence around the team and the expertise, experience that they have within the space, that you can put your money and belief in a project that's going to actually be successful. So I think research is something that I would definitely come back to, and most likely why, I mentioned it in the previous question, is that there's so much information out there, but what you need to do is be able to consume that how you need to, and for your own benefit. So I think that's the biggest one for me. And a lot you listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of content, and a lot say the same, but the emotion of a financially driven experience can be great. However, that can happen on a low level and happen on a high level. So where you can, that emotional element of decision making, is something that you need to be able to address as well. So you have your plans, stick to them, and there's always going to be tomorrow. Yeah. So I think they're research, and as much as you can, take the emotion out of it.
That is an absolute gem that I want to re-echo for everyone. Crypto can be very emotional, especially as it comes to potential investments and everything else. And the more that you can start to take the emotion out of it, which typically just comes with time and experience and everything else, and also just coming up with a process that you stick to, you're going to be in a much more better mental state, because there are highs and lows. It's a roller coaster. I mean, there's not a lot of industries where, you can be on top of the world, be up 2x 1 week, and then you see an 80% correction the next. And that's just crypto. And it's okay to, have those experiences and have it be like, have some of those emotions. Like, it's just, we're human. It's going to happen. But the more you can start to put that in its respective place where it needs to be, which is trying to make it as less emotional as possible and more data-driven and confident and just process-oriented, this becomes more fun, because you can stomach when things go good, when they go bad. You can just be a little bit more even keel. You don't want your highs to be too high. You don't want your lows to be too low. You just want to figure out how you can stay right there in a good even keel. So, Bo, I think that's a really, really good reminder for everyone here.
Excellent. Yeah. And it's just matter of fact. Just stick to it. And you'll see some lows, but you'll definitely see some highs.
No doubt, man. Well, again, this has been a really awesome interview. But as we wrap up here, what is a final thought that you want to leave with all the listeners here today?
Yeah, I think whether it's Transients, whether it's the next project that you listen to or see, get stuck in, read, ask questions, continue to push the narrative. But yeah, for Transient specifically, check out the dApps. There will be something for everyone, particularly crypto pool. You're listening to this podcast just because you either are in the industry or you want to get in, and price is a massive point to that. So check out our socials, continue to follow us. Crypto pool will be massive. And then into esports, if you've got any gaming or elements of that side in you, check out again in the new year. Something big will be coming for Transient, and I'm really excited to start our mainstream push with our gaming community and esports more broadly. So check us out. But if it's not us, check out the next project, get involved, and continue the conversation.
Excellent. I think that's an amazing final thought. And on that thought, what are ways that people can connect and learn more about Transient?
Yeah, we'll drop some links, but the best one is through our socials. So we've got our Twitter, our YouTube, we've got a Telegram group, and a revamped website also that you can go to. So check them out. And if there's even, just jump into our Telegram groups. We've got awesome moderators and members in there that will help you out. Or just jump on and interact with our socials. You'll definitely get the answers you need.
Perfect. Well, again, Bo, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent.